Coach Dianne Yancey is the president of Dream Support Network. Her company provides personal success coaching for executives, politicians, and individuals. She is highly sought out as a motivational speaker, addressing personality communication styles and finding your passion. Grapevine Radio now proudly presents Coach Dianne Yancey's Communication Connection.
Hi, this is Coach Dianne Yancey in the Communication Connection, and it is a beautiful, hot day here in Orem, Utah. We are in the 103 to 4 degrees, and I know across the country lots of people are experiencing those high temperatures, but I'll tell you what, I'm ready for spring again. I'm not a hot, well, I don't want to say I'm not a hot person, because I can be, no. But it is fun to have these nice temperatures and be able to, benefit from all of the beautiful gardens that you see. And, we're getting a little water dispersed in it, so it feels pretty good. Today on the Communication Connection, we are going to follow up on a subject that I brought up about how, as Americans, we need to open our eyes, our ears, our hearts, our internets, or whatever it is, and start communicating and listening and allowing ourselves to hear the real stories behind the media hype, behind all of the things that we are supposed to take at face value and really find out for ourselves what's going on. And as you remember a few weeks back, and they've replayed this a couple of times so that people could have a chance to hear it, I did an interview with Cheryl Ward, one of the people that worked with me on an event for a conference for the 11 delegates of Iraqi women that came over from Baghdad. And I explained then that I'd had kind of a full circle experience when I also participated in and helped put on an event for the wives and mothers of our brave military soldiers who are serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. And today in my studio here, I am very fortunate to have a guest who is one of the women that I spoke about. Colleen, and tell me again how to say your last name.
Parkin.
It's not Parkins, it's Parkin.
Mm-hmm.
Colleen Parkin. I met her at the military event, and this is the woman who so graciously explained about her son and the life that he gave to help liberate the Iraqi people. And welcome, Colleen. We're so happy to have you here today, and I'm looking forward to hearing a little more in depth about this information and what took place here. But to start this off, I want you to share with our audience and our listeners the information that you gave me that night as I was bebopping around to the table saying, "What's your story? What do your soldiers say?" And I was hearing all kinds of great things from everybody and hearing how they felt about serving over there. And then I came to you and I said, "So what is your story? What's going on?" And what did you tell me?
Well, I let you know that my precious son Matthew Reed Smith, Corporal Matthew Reed Smith, he was a proud Marine. He was on his way over to to protect the voting areas when his helicopter went down and it killed him and 31 other Marines. And I just shared with you how proud I am that he died a hero, and how he had told us how proud he was to be serving over there and the people there. And so to know that he was on his way to protect what we so freely can do, vote, where a lot of people do not vote. So we have the freedom, and yet he was over there to protect people who do not have as much freedom as we do, and yet he was killed going there to do so.
Obviously, to suddenly hear of someone's loss like that is so hard to hear, because immediately, even now, we've talked more than once, and even now as you said it, I had to sit here and really focus on just not starting to cry. And I'm impressed with how clearly you're able to communicate this now and be able to share his feelings. One of the things that I thought was so profound and seemed to be such a blessing was that you told me that you had an opportunity just the day before he died to actually speak with him on the phone. Was that correct? It was
That's
on the
correct.
phone? Yeah.
We were able to talk to him. I talked to him, and he was able to talk to his brothers and his dad.
Now, when he was leaving to go to Iraq, how did he feel about everything? I mean, was he a little nervous? I mean, I can't imagine anybody not being nervous. But what was he saying then?
Well, actually, when he was in Iraq, he was the first Marine group that went into Iraq to liberate, and he didn't tell his mom.
Oh, okay.
So it was November when they had the first attack that they went in, and for a couple weeks I cried and cried, and I don't know why I was crying. And my husband, bless his little heart, said, "Well, maybe you ought to go to the doctor and see if you're okay." And I said, "Okay, maybe my hormones are off or something." Mm-hmm. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Well, you seem fine." And I still kept just crying, not knowing what was wrong. So my husband actually took me to breakfast one day, and I says, "I think I need to tell you that Matthew has been fighting in Fallujah."
So he knew, but you didn't know.
He knew. The brothers knew, and my husband and his father knew. And Matthew, bless his little heart, who is my son who was killed, was very protective of his mom. And he said to not tell Mom until she was ready. And so my husband decided, after I spent several hundreds of dollars on blood tests, that my hormones were not whacked out, that I was feeling mother instincts, that my son was in some sort of danger. And as soon as my husband told me, I relaxed and realized that that's fine, that's where Matthew wants to be.
And here come the tears again. Oh my gosh.
And so I knew that's where he wanted to be, and I was proud of that. And so then he talked to me. And then when I talked to him, Matthew, I just cried. I just heard his voice. And what started all this is I had heard his voice, and I cried, and he says, "Mom, don't cry." I says, "Why? I'm so worried." He says, "Mom, I'm fine. I'm where I need to be." And I told him, I says, "Matthew, I will be strong for you, always." So this is what I think I get my strength from, because I promised him I'd be strong for him. Mm-hmm. And I don't want him or those who have served or will serve or are serving to be forgotten. So I'm being strong for him.
Wow. What an amazing story. And I remember something else that just, oh my gosh, just pulled at my heartstrings. Because, correct me if I'm quoting it wrong, but it seemed like you said that he felt that this time in Iraq, liberating these Iraqi people, would be one of the most significant missions of his life.
That is correct.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, he felt that very strong.
And, having had the interaction of meeting the Iraqi women, the thing that comes out of their mouth, where we say, we talk about the war, and we say when the Americans went in, we say all these different things. They are very clear that it wasn't that the Americans came in, it was the Americans came and liberated us. They definitely feel that they have, was it September 3rd, 2004? I can't remember. They were very specific. I have it written down somewhere.
I can't remember.
Because as Americans, we don't remember it. They remember. And they would say the date, and they would say, "This is the day of our liberation." Now, see, we still see all the fighting and all of the trouble that's going on. And so to us, it's still in process. But to them, the day that Saddam Hussein left into hiding, the day that the Americans showed up, they liberated them. And that's why when the statues came down and all the things came down, they were celebrating. They felt liberated. And now he was one of those that went in at that very beginning and took part in that liberation. Now, did he have opportunity Did he have anything to do with the statue being pulled over?
No.
I mean, any of that kind of thing? Okay. Just wondered because
No.
that was something we all saw, on TV, and so you just wonder. But, oh my goodness, what an amazing story. I think we should take it to that next level now, because I feel like we need to do the full circle here, because those of you listeners who wept with me and heard me talk about the experience that I had that week, where to me it all came full circle when I met the Iraqi women at the party, and we were talking, and I could feel how genuine and loving and wonderful they were. And they said to me that they had met a woman that her son had died liberating them. And, it's hard to say even now without, oh, goodness, I don't know how you do it. You obviously are very blessed to be able to talk about this the way you do. But in pressing that, I knew instantly that it was you they were talking about. And I just sat there and just could not believe how powerful that must have been. So what I would like you to do now, if you would, is kind of go back in your mind to that day when you're there working at Colonial Flags, and a delegation of Iraqi women come in who want to buy a bunch of American flags or take a bunch of American flags home to Iraq, and share what happened. How did that whole thing go, and just explain everything.
Okay. Paul Swenson, who is owner of Colonial Flag, and his wife Liz were involved quite a bit with the Iraqi women coming also. And I remember him calling me that Saturday. It was the Saturday before Mother's Day. And he said to me, he said, "Colleen, I just want you to be prepared. The women from Iraq want to meet you, and so they're coming to Colonial Flag." Oh my gosh, my heart hit the floor. I just said, what a blessing it is to actually meet some other mothers from the place that my son died, and for protecting them. I thought, what an incredible experience. So I was really nervous to meet them, and what do I say? Well, they came in, and of course they loved buying the U.S. flags because it means a lot to them. And I was just working, and finally they were getting pictures on the stairs at Colonial Flag, and Paul introduced me as the mother that they wanted to meet, and they hugged me, and I can still feel those hugs. They were very true, very committed, strong women, and we took pictures. And then I turned around. I was down at the bottom of the stairs where everybody else was lined up at top getting pictures, and I turned around and knelt down in front of them, and I said, "I just want you to know that my son, Corporal Matthew Reed Smith, loved you people. He loved the children and women especially. He loved the fact that he saw freedom. He loved the fact to see that the children were running freely." And I said to them also, I said, "Matthew is still protecting you. He is with you folks still. And I says, he will see this to the end. He will be their guardian angel." And I says, well, of course, being selfish mother, he does come to see me once in a while. But it was incredible because they just wrapped their arms around me and cried and thanked me for my sacrifice and the sacrifice of my son's blood that was shed for them. Incredible moment. I will never, ever, ever forget that moment. To know how real that is. They're moms over there. They're real people. And to know that my son so proudly did what he did for these people. And afterwards there were military, of course, they're protecting them, and they saluted me for my son. And the women gave me gifts. One took out earrings out of her ears, diamond earrings, and she said, "One is for you and one is for Matthew to wear tomorrow on Mother's Day in remembrance of him and us." It was incredible.
Oh, well, now that I've got tears streaming down my cheeks and the whole thing. Just an amazing experience. After you had met with them, and the party that I attended in behalf of their presence here, is where I became aware that you had met with them. And as I listened to the story as they told it, which is very similar to the way that you expressed it, but where they were coming from was that they just could not get over how much they love the American people for doing what they have done to liberate them. But then also, they also felt such a deep pain for your loss.
Incredible pain.
They did, and you could tell that they did. I don't know how to explain the depth of how they come across either, but I know you tried just now, but it's hard to put into words. But a moment that allows, they're much more open with their sensitivity, I think, than we are as Americans. Maybe some Americans, but are that way. But I think they're a little freer with their nurturing and their tenderness. Maybe they have to be.
Yeah.
But for what I know is when they were sharing with me, there was a moment when tears were just, again, rolling down my cheek. And this woman who was the president of their organization reached over without saying a word. Her eyes never left my eyes, and reached over and removed the tears from my cheek. Just very gently brushed them aside. It was such a tender moment. It was just amazing. And so when you were sharing them hugging you and crying with you and feeling those feelings, to me, I was remembering that tenderness, and I was thinking it had to be an amazing experience. And then one of the women that I got fairly close with, and we still email, is Basima. And I wish I'd have brought her picture because I know you'd remember her. She was always smiling.
Yeah, I know her.
Okay, all right. She is such a warm and loving person. And she said, the loss of a child is a loss of a child no matter where you are, no matter who you are. All human beings feel that loss. And if you are, the only way you would not feel the loss is if you were not human.
That's right.
And see, to me, I'm just sitting here going, oh my gosh, how amazing and when I say amazing, I guess maybe it's an overstatement, but for me, living in Salt Lake City, Utah, not really feeling all that connected. I did not have any family member serving in the military. Grandchildren are too young to get there yet, and my son, his service that he gave, he'd been in and had been released, and so I had nobody. But the closest I had come to getting connected was when we just send over some kits at Christmas time, some stuff. And that was really it. And then suddenly in 1 week to have these two entire separate events that were not supposed to be really connected in any way, to have them both happen within days of each other, and to have you, the linking point for those two events for me. I mean, it was kind of linking in my mind anyway, but when it was just full circle. And I have said to people, it's so hard to express how grateful I am for having met you and having met these women, because I am no longer walking around in a bubble thinking that I don't understand the people in another place. I do understand them. I do get it, because they are just like me. And that is the thing that I finally figured out. Yeah, I guess you know it up here in your head, but I thought, oh my gosh, we do. we feel the love for children, the love for family, and okay, we may have some cultural differences, but that does not change who we are. So on that thought, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to have just a short commercial break, and then we'll come right back and let's talk a little bit about the things we've learned from this experience. All right, this is Coach Dianne Yancey. We'll be right back.
The following letter was written by Sergeant Leroy P., U.S. Army.
I'm currently on my third tour to Iraq. Never have I ever seen so much love and support from people I don't even know. My mom always told me that there are angels among us. And right now, I really do believe that. Very much.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
If your child or one you know has cerebral palsy or other neuromuscular disorder, Now I Can Center for Intensive Therapy offers therapy that brings results. Studies have shown that a 3 or 4 week session of intensive therapy will produce the gains that usually take a year of traditional therapy to accomplish. Now I Can uses the NeuroSuit as a tool in therapy, along with intensive therapy sessions. So if you thought you had to travel across the world or across the country to receive this treatment, the good news is that the Now I Can Center for Intensive Therapy is open in Orem, Utah. The mission of Now I Can is to help children with disabilities become more independent. So call today, 801-885-7624, or check out the Now I Can website at www.nowican.org. Whether the therapy goal is to learn to sit, feed themselves, stand, or walk, it's amazing to hear a child say, "Now I can."
Welcome back to Communication Connection with your host, Coach Dianne Yancey.
Hi, this is Coach Dianne Yancey, and today in the studio we are having a wonderful conversation talking with Colleen Parkin about her amazing experience. I don't even want to say the loss of your son, because yes, there was a loss, but there was a transition almost, of your son as he gave him his life so freely to help the Iraqi people, and how, even though I know, having had a son die also, I had a young son die at age 11, so I understand the loss part of the missing them part. But I believe that with your help and with the great love that he demonstrated for the Iraqi people, that we're really talking and celebrating his life and celebrating, what happens when good people do those things that they believe in and make wonderful things happen. So I would like for us to take some time now and let's talk about all of the things that have happened since then and what you've learned. Let's talk a little bit about your other children, share a little bit about them, and how this has or has not changed. I mean, their lives, whatever. I'm going to let you just go ahead and share what you feel comfortable with.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to thank you for letting me share my story. It means a lot to me to tell people how proud I am of Matthew, and not only Matthew, all those who serve. It just means a lot to me, and to be an American. What had happened is the day that I found out that Matthew, the Marines were standing at my door, and we had them come in and have them tell me that Matthew was killed, my heart went out. But one of the hardest things you said to mention about my other children was to be sitting there waiting for his two brothers to come home and to tell them, because we called them the Three Musketeers, and they were so close. And as sitting there, I thought, how can a mother whose heart has just been ripped out of her soul tell her two other sons that their brother had died for his country? So when they walked in, they hugged me and cuddled, but they reminded me also, all of us crying together, that was Matt's dream, and that he so dearly wanted to protect us in the country, and that was what he talked about so often. And so we pledged as a family to stay strong, and stay strong for Matthew and finish out what he started. and all those others who have started. And what we have learned is also the brothers were able to talk to Matthew the day before he had died. And one brother was able to tell him that we're building a house. The other one was able to say we're having a little baby. So how incredible is that Matt could hear good things from home. And what we've learned is the day that Matthew came home at the airport, when they brought his casket home, we all stood there, and his father and the two brothers and I, we watched them bring his casket out of the airplane and into an area where the public couldn't see. It was just a quiet moment with us and the Marines. And the Marines were lined up on each side of his casket. And when they opened up that United States flag and laid that down over his casket, the flag became a whole new meaning to me. Even though I've always been proud to be an American, but to see that lay over my son that came all the way from Iraq, that flag came home with him. And knowing that he was there to help another country, and yet he died in honor. So in this experience, the flag has come a whole new thing to me. It's an honor to fly that flag. I know I've spoke now at a couple flag raising ceremonies, and to see that flag go up there and wave, it's not just that we're doing that because it's the 4th of July, it's a holiday, it's Memorial Day. It's because we're free to do that.
Yes.
And I love to tell people how happy I am to see that fly. And so the whole new meaning to the flag, and like we mentioned, I do work at Colonial Flag, and when people buy a flag, it's not a sell to me, it's an honor. It's an honor to hand them that flag and know that they're going to go home and so freely fly it.
That's wonderful.
And I love it.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. My goodness. I'm listening to you, and at the same time, my heart is just so full. Because as Americans, I do believe that we have a real sense of pride of country, or have always had a tradition of a great sense of pride of country. And the tradition goes back to those days when we were not loyalists. We were an uprising that decided we were going to be free. And it is a sense of freedom that has motivated and driven our country to where it is today. It is that not being willing to settle for anything else. And I believe that it is that deeply rooted sense of freedom that we feel that also drives us to step in to other countries who are trying so hard to be liberated out of oppression, and step in to help them, because we know that by helping them, it helps everyone. It is spreading the democracy in whatever form it takes. It is the democracy of whatever the culture will handle, whatever it is, but it is freedom. It is giving them that freedom. And I too, with you, the flag is always a very sacred symbol to me of our country. And the other day I was listening when people were talking about immigration, and they were talking about how the new people that have come to this country do not have a sense of the honor and the privilege that it is to be an American. And as I sat and listened to you just now, the thought came into my mind, and I felt it so strongly that I have to share it. No, they don't have ancestors that fought in the Revolutionary War or the Civil War or some of those kind of things. But a lot of those young men and young women that come from other countries are enlisting in the military, and they are taking that freedom that they have received by being here and being part of this country. They are going out and they are trying to spread that and protect them and liberate them and help them. So maybe not all of the people get it, But I have to say that you know very well that those people who are transplanted here for whatever reason, who have embraced the service in the military and the service for our country to fight against terrorism wherever it rears its ugly head, they are true Americans, and they have that honor and they have that knowledge. And I believe that that is one way that that there is no question when someone truly loves their country, when they're willing to put their life down to protect that country. And I have to take it a step farther. I have to think of these Iraqi people and say, there is no question when someone is a true human being, when they are willing to lay down their life for the love of another human being who is in trouble. And you say you're honored to be here. Oh my gosh. No, the honor is ours, mine, and those that are listening, that you would be willing to share such tender feelings and such important message with us today. Another thing that I have learned since this has taken place is I have learned that there are those here in our country and those abroad and in other places that are saying that that the war is taking too long, that it's taking too long, and that we should leave. Now, I do not consider myself a person who makes policy on wars or these kinds of things, and I know that you're not a person who makes those policies either. But I do want to know how, as an American, how long do you feel a person needs to stay in a war that is obviously going to go on for a very long time?
I think we need to stay as long as it takes. We started to help, we need to finish to help. And that would come from my son Matthew also. He would love to see the freedom carry on and go on. Why stop it now? I mean, how can we say it's too long? What's too long? Eternity too long? I think it needs to be, we need to be there. We need to be there, be proud, and stand behind our military, our leaders. Even if we don't fully agree, we need to stand behind everybody and support and continue to pray for their protection.
Well, my question was obviously directed towards you kind of having a suspicion of what your answer might be, and knowing that, and I want the listeners to know that I kind of could sense our united feelings on that, but I did want to hear it from your own voice. And also, I want to say to all those mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters that are having loved ones that are lost in the wars, that lose their lives in the wars, that I don't even know how to put this in words. The most important thing is that as we move forward to fight terrorism, and I honestly do not believe the war on terrorism will ever come to an end, because it's just so huge. And I believe it may shift venues, it may go from one country to another or whatever, but I believe it's going to go on for a long time. The most important thing we have to remember is that those who are serving and those who are out there, in my humble opinion, we cannot let their lives and what they have accomplished go for nothing. We have to support it. It's not like we made a mistake and went in there and, oh, darn, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have gone there. We went in and found everything to be fine. Well, it's too bad. We shouldn't be here. That is so not what's happening. Okay, there are all these confusions and all these things that are going on. Bottom line is, those people have been liberated. And you can't be liberated if everything is okay.
That's right.
And so having listened to them and felt their feelings, and just my heart just swelled as I heard these women say, "We love your President Bush. We love the Americans who have come to liberate us." Now, I don't know if you guys have heard that in the media. I haven't heard that coming from the media ever. Not in the beginning, not ever. I don't recall hearing that. There may have been. I may have missed that day watching the news. But I actually feel like that somehow we better watch out and write a lot more op-ed pieces and do a lot more verbalizing on what we're finding out and what we're hearing, because somebody's got to keep that media in check and balance. They appear to have an agenda. They appear to be working maybe even for the terrorists. I mean, not really. Well, heaven forbid, I would not want to believe that totally. But when you are saying, "Oh, let's get out, let's do this," what you're really saying is, "Oh my gosh, these human beings are not worth our effort. We need to just turn them loose back to whoever had them, and let's just get out of there. This is getting too sticky." It's like the child that plays in the mud and suddenly their hands are dirty and they don't want to play in the mud anymore. And so they're, we've all known one or two children that wouldn't let their hands get dirty. Okay, I believe that war is a very difficult thing. I don't know anybody that I personally know, and I know quite a few people, that would ever say, "Oh, let's do a war," if there was any other solution. "Oh, let me send my child over to who knows what," if there was any other solution. We're dealing with people that don't even understand alternatives or other solutions, because they really believe their job is to wipe us out. Their job is to wipe everybody out in the world except those who feel and believe the way they do. Now, how much more have you been studying or learning, or have you, about the Middle East? Are you paying more attention to what they believe and what's going on and who's behind all of this? Has it gotten your attention a little bit more? Now you want to understand it a little better. I guess I'm curious.
Yeah, I do. I want to understand it because I want to make sure it's happening what they sought out for. The freedom. And I do want to understand it. And I feel that everybody should understand it. Because like you said, they are real people over there. They are real people. And they're not all bad people.
No.
And I just think, and they should know that, and I don't know, I'm just proud that I was able to raise a son that would want to be there. And I think everybody should be proud.
Well, I can speak for me. I'm very proud of these young men and women that go over and do this. I'm also very proud about the organization Future that came together for the sole purpose of bringing people from all over the world together to talk about family values. Because the belief there is that if you help people strengthen families and help people to raise their children in an atmosphere of hope, then you are taking one more step closer to putting an end to some of these things too. Because and that's why the women came here, because they said, if things are going to change, now that we have been liberated, if things are going to change, it's going to be up to the women to make that difference. It's going to be up to the women to make that change, because in the homes we have to make that change. One of the things that they said prior to this, and I've said this before, but I don't remember if in our conversations I've shared this with you, so if I have, forgive me for repeating myself, but Bossima said that when, before they were liberated, that they would get up in the morning and they would not know if they would see all of their family again at night, because there was so much going on there. There were so many killings. Pardon me. There were people being kidnapped, tortured, killed, women being dragged off and never being seen again, and who knows what happened to them. little children. There was one of Hussein's sons, I guess it was, that had a particular thing for little children, and so the little children were so frightened to even, be out and about, that under their great big robes, the women would sometimes bend over and act, like they were old women, and let the children walk underneath the robes so that they could get out and be out but not be seen. I mean, these kind of things were real, and she said, so you got through the day, and you were always grateful if everyone made it. If they weren't, of course you were sorrowful and all these things. But she said it was horrible. It was a horrible thing. And she said now they live in a situation where they still get up in the morning and they still don't know whether everyone will be home at night, because there is still a war going on, and the insurgents are there and they're present, and you don't know if you're going to get caught in a crossfire. You don't know, we can't even imagine what it would be like to live in those conditions, and heaven forbid that we ever do have to experience that. But this is a very real part of their life, and she said that that the difference now is that they feel this is temporary and that it will get better, and they have hope. And they have hope for the first time since Hussein took over. This is the first time they've actually felt hope. Their situation hasn't changed completely, obviously. I mean, when I get emails from my friend, it's sporadic because their electricity is on or off, and they never know, how long it'll be on or off or what's going to happen. And so they're still living in those situations. They've moved out of Baghdad, out into another city because it's gotten so bad. The military that was supporting Hussein are, of course, with the insurgents, and many of them, and they are still trying to reclaim Baghdad, and they are taking it out on the people who are friendly with the soldiers that have come in. They're trying to, take it out on them to make other people so afraid that they won't. But the people aren't buying it. The people are very upset. They know what's going on, so they're moving away from where they can do it to let the soldiers come in so they can handle it. And very, very scary, very, very frightening things. So there's still a lot going on over there, and it's going to be that way for a long time. But I think that as an American, I'm very, very proud that we did not turn a blind eye, and that we just said, "Oh well," there have been too many times in history that we were too slow to act, and so I'm very happy that we're in a situation now where we're acting, and that we are making a difference. We are making a difference. So we have just a few minutes left. This hour has gone so fast.
Yes, it has.
It really has gone fast. Is there anything, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, is there anything that you would like to say to any of the mothers and fathers that are out there listening, whose children have either been wounded or have lost their life like your son did, or that are fearful of those things happening? Is there anything that you would like to say to them at this point?
Well, like I said before, I'd like to tell them thank you for raising their children the way they have raised them, and the wives that are out there with small children raising their families alone without their husbands. My heart goes out to them, and yet hopefully they'll hold on to being proud of this, and they can teach their children how proud they are of their daddies and mommies out there fighting. And the fear, yes, I'm sorry, my heart does go out to people who've lost loved ones, but know they're heroes. Know that they are making a difference, and that makes a difference, that we can wake up every day and say the Pledge of Allegiance, that we can wake up every day and have our breakfast freely and see our kids off to school. I just want to say thank you to everybody, and thanks for everybody's support to my family also. It's been incredible. The community has pulled together incredible for us and all those, and I just want everybody to know how thankful I am for them, and our prayers will go out to them. May God bless and protect all their families.
Thank you. And I can only say, I agree. I absolutely agree that the one thing that we know is that they served, and they served well, and they are serving and serving well. And as a country, we're very grateful to those men and women. And I'm grateful to your son, because I know his mother. I'm grateful to him. But what a privilege it has been to get to know him through you. And I have to tell you, he has become my personal link to the war. He is the reason that I feel motivated to write the articles for the magazines and to speak up for the listeners to hear that there are some really good things happening over there, that they are building schools and they are making a difference. And as I've spoken to so many soldiers as they have come back, this is what I'm hearing. They are sharing that they are making a difference, and that the children are happy. Relatively in the middle of a war, there has to be an element of fear there. Mm-hmm. But the beautiful things that are taking place. And, as I spoke with these soldiers and I speak with their families, the word that I hear the very most often is love. They say, they love the Iraqi people. They love those children, and they love the mothers, how hard they're working to bring their children up in a situation that we can only imagine. You get up in the morning and you're sending your children off to school not knowing if they're going to get shot, blown up, kidnapped. Think of this. We worry about minor things here. And yet these women are so strong. The one thing I noticed as I interacted with the women was that in whatever moment we were in, they were so in that moment. When they were with you, they were in that moment of your pain and your sorrow and feeling the loss of your child, and you felt that so beautifully. And then as we were there at the party, and the party continued on to Senator Bennett's house, and the men left, and the women kicked off their shoes and took off their headdresses and put on the Iraqi music and taught us how to dance. In that moment, we were celebrating life, and we were celebrating the beautiful parts of life that make human beings come together as human beings. And I'm telling you, those women know how to dance. They really were beautiful and energetic and smiling and happy and just amazing, absolutely amazing. And I can't help but feel that when you have gone through the types of things that our soldiers and the Iraqi people, the people that are in those war zones and things, they tend to gain a stronger depth of life, so that they do not take those moments for granted. They do not take them for granted, because they know in just that quick that that moment could change, and you could be back in a moment of terror or a moment of fear. And this is something that I believe can only really be learned in these kinds of situations. And so we're very fortunate to have had the interaction and been able to learn indirectly how to prize those moments and how to do that by making their acquaintance, by getting to know your son, by getting to know you. And I feel very richly blessed for having had what I call my full circle week. It will be a moment in my life that I will always remember and probably talk about for a very long time to come. People will probably get tired of hearing it, but it has changed me. It has made me from a person that would listen and sit back and think about things to a person who listens, sits back, thinks about it, and then says, I have to talk about this. I have to share this. I cannot not share. And it makes me now, I have to tell you a secret. Of course, it's not much of a secret if I'm telling it on radio. But I actually called into a talk show. Another person's talk show.
Wow.
I called into one that I'm not even going to mention the name because honestly and truly I don't want people knowing I listened to that one. Only because it's so out there. But they were talking about, let's get out, let's not, all this stuff. And I listened to hear what other people are saying, and I thought, enough of this. And I picked up my phone. I was so shocked I got through. And they said, what do you have to say? And I said, I said pretty much what we've been saying right here. And they said, well, have you got somebody serving there? No. Where are you coming from? Why are you doing this? And I told him, I said, because of the soldiers I've met, I'm listening to them. Have you interviewed a soldier? Have you interviewed somebody that has been there? Well, of course they hadn't. They're going totally off what the media tells them. And I said, maybe you need to do some research with, like, real people. Like the real Iraqis, the people who live and work there, not the ones that come in to fight, but the real ones, the ones that are there that say, we love your President Bush, and we love the Americans. And it was really interesting because he didn't say anything back on the other end. He says, okay, thank you for your call. That's all he could say. And I thought, boy, I wouldn't have done that before this experience. And so now it's like, I'm done sitting back and letting all the people that have nothing but negative to say, because I feel by doing that, I am disrespecting your son. And I am disrespecting those others who have given their lives in any number of liberation activities that our military has done. And so as free Americans, as people who are allowed to voice their opinion and say what they feel and think, we have a responsibility to not just let the negative voices be heard, but to let those voices that are speaking from the heart and speaking from personal knowledge speak up and say things. So again, I'm very, very pleased that you were willing to be here, that you are keeping your promise to your son, and you are being strong. I can't remember when I met a stronger woman. I just feel very blessed to have had the opportunity to know you and to interact with you, and especially that you would come and be here on our show today. Thank you again very much.
Thank you. It was an honor.
We just have a couple of minutes left, and what I'd like to do is I usually do talk about what we're going to be talking about a little bit next week, and I have a special guest coming on. We're going to get back more into the communication connection, although I can't imagine communicating any stronger than we have here today. But I have a special guest coming on board. He is actually putting together a school that is being funded to the tune of $15 million that is going to be a special school where parents can enroll their children that have ADD, dyslexia, and any other types of problems that are causing them not to do well in school. They have a program, and it's totally focused on self-esteem, playing to the child's strengths, and they have, I became aware of them because they want to incorporate personality-style communication into their structure with all their staff as well as the students in the program. So I'm going to be working with them and advising a little bit, and I'm just so excited about it that I asked him to come on and talk about it, because I have a child who has ADD, and I know so many people who do, and I'm feeling like, what a great message. And the beauty of it is we're looking around to find grant helps that will allow people to be able to afford this kind of a program for their child. So maybe some of the charter money, whatever. But that'll be what we're going to be talking about next Monday. So I hope that if you have any questions and that you have any comments that you want to have addressed as we talk about this next week, that you will email me. And the way you can email me is Dianne5, Dianney5 at AOL.com. or you can just go into my website, dreamsupportnetwork.com, and you can email your questions or anything you want to do through that connection also. This is Coach Dianne Yancey and the Communication Connection, signing off for another week.